So welcome everyone to another What If. Now, after this, I'll be doing another What If after 2 days, actually. So, okay, this video shall be known. What if Deku was an alien? Here we go. Oh, and by the way, I don't script my What Ifs. All of these are one shots. So, yeah. Let's see. Where do we begin? I know. We start off at Izuku's 6th birthday. And he wakes up like very excited and happy, thinking that he'll be 7 now. And he rushes downstairs to see what's there, to see only a knocked out Inko and a knocked out Hisashi. As a man in a black cloak starts to pick up his father. As Izuku is frightened and hides, as this man notices that Izuku's there, he basically also grabs Inko. And Izuku, thinking that he's safe because he thinks the guy didn't see him, thinks in his head, "Mommy? Dad? Are you awake?" And then he looks up to see the guy with a clenched fist and the guy knocks out Izuku. As the guy brings them into his truck, as he says, yes. I'll get money." And they get put into a truck, Inko on the side, Hisashi also on another side, and Izuku in the middle. As the truck drives off, but what the guy didn't know, their neighbors were watching, aka Katsuki. And he just saw what all went down. As Katsuki thinks, "Deku? Where's he going?" As we cut to, say, 45 minutes later, as he basically picks up Hisashi, Inko, and Izuku. Let's say this guy has 4 arms for his quirk. As he drags them to this weird facility of sorts. He knocks on the door to see a scientist with a scarred eye and says, "You're back." As the man with 4 arms says, "Hell yeah. And by the way, I got the family you wanted." Showing them a green-haired woman, a black-haired man, and a blackish green green-haired boy. As the scientists think, this will be perfect. Now, here's the money. As he opens up a briefcase with, say, thousands and thousands of yen, which is Japanese money, but in the UK it would be a lot more than that. Yeah, let's just say it's yen. As the man thinks, "Thank you. Pleasure doing business with you, my good sir." As he gets outside and starts driving off. as the man said, "Now, what to do with you?" As he pulls up gloves and basically lets go and does the classic. You ever seen those You ever seen the medic where he pulls up the glove and it just snaps back in? Yeah, he basically does that. As we cut to Inko being held up in chains, waking up from, well, basically being knocked out by the villain. As she opens her eyes and says, Where am I? Where am I? As a huge needle with some greenish goo of sorts is in it. It's a lime green with a few bubbles in it, let's say. As she sees a window revealing a scientist talking to another one and says, "Now, deploy the quirks." As another man says, "Deploying the quirks, sir." As he pulls a lever and the giant needle of sorts just jabs into Inko. Not killing her, because they want her alive, but it does hurt her a lot. As Inko is basically wondering what the hell is going on. It's meant to be Izuku's birthday, and they get kidnapped? As Inko just faints on the spot again, because this needle's meant for giant experiments, not people the size, well, of an average adult. As the same test is carried on Hisashi, as Hisashi opens his eyes, and he says, "Ink?" And then he opens his eyes in shock wider to see a huge needle just coming in to jab into him, and to see Inko in some form of, well, tube of sorts. With only her head showing. As once he's stabbed by the giant needle, he says, "Okay, what the hell is going on?" As he faints also. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of fainting in this story, so yeah. As it's Izuku's turn. He stays knocked out. But in the tubes, Inko and Hisashi wake up. They notice that their eyes are slowly going away, but they can still see as if they're still there. As both of them try to say, "Izuku, watch out," and "Izuku, look out." As the scientists say, "Quiet." You know what? I might even convince this little guy that you're not his real parents. Then I'll ask him to kill you. Or maybe I'll do it myself. As he pulls the lever, as Izuku's eyes open slightly, and this needle just goes into him. Izuku also falling asleep. They're placed into 3 tubes now. Izuku in the middle, Hisashi on the left, Inko on the right. As one of the main scientists with the scar on his eye says, "Soon, Master will have new Nomus." As another scientist say, good, but did you make sure to make them brain dead? As the scientists say, yeah, I think I did. Walking off, as he notices the man that looks like he's a machine and says, droid number 45321. Make sure to daily check on them to see if they change or not. As the robot or droid said, yes, sir, as he basically marches over there to see what's going on and starts basically guarding the three subjects. Months pass by and they occasionally wake up, but Izuku, yeah, he doesn't wake up, breaking Inko's heart, thinking that her one and only son might be dead. As Hisashi's full of rage. Like, he's meant to be the father, the guy who protects a family, and he just gets knocked out by a guy with 4 arms? As they notice that they've been changing for a while, they've been getting elongated skulls, and basically they've been growing in size. Inko felt, how should I say this? Another pair of arms growing on her chest, but she thinks that it must be like from being in this test tube. Yeah, the test tubes, I forgot. Wait. No, I didn't forget. But for being in a test tube for so long. They also make sure to check on Izuku if he's still alive, they also notice that he's also been changing. As one day, the scientists are, still running on tests on them, as one of them says, sir, the queen is, the queen is awake, as this main scientist said. What? As they show the camera on a giant alien queen with a hint of green on her, and shaking in the test tube as if she's trying to get out. As they also notice the same thing with the king. As the middle one just resembles a plain old, alien. As they think that one must be dead. But, yeah. During when they noticed this, a guy said, the droid said, sir, it appears the one in the middle has died. As the main scientist said, fine, take his corpse out. As basically Inko and his Sashi, now fully formed king and queen xenomorphs, are seeing their one and only child, something similar between them, now being taken out of a test tube and just being classified as dead, which breaks Inko's heart. If she still had her eyes, she'd be crying, but even then, she'd be underwater. As Hisashi's just banging his head on the glass, catching the attention of the scientist, as the scientists say, now listen here, tough guy. You think you might be the strongest, but after we're done with you, you don't want to know. As Hisashi just basically clenches his fist and just slams his fist into the glass, slightly cracking it. As Izuku's taken into a yard of sorts, where he finally wakes up. Izuku says, "Oh, what kind of nightmare was that?" As he looks back at his hand to see only, well, to him, if it's like 7 fingers, but really it's just 5 fingers. Just conjoined together. As Izuku says, what happened to my hand? As he smells something rotting behind him. And he says, "Oh, what's that smell?" And as he turns around to see a bunch of dead corpses, like one has one eye and just has huge fangs, and the other, they're all failed attempts. As Izuku is shocked at this, and he remembers that he got kidnapped, along with his mother and father. As he notices something, he notices someone pass by the alleyway that he's in now. I'm going to say the dead corpses are in an alleyway where no one can see them, unfortunately. As Izuku sticks his head out to see if someone's there, and he notices there's a bunch of heroes, along with his favorite hero, All Might. As Izuku says, "All Might," but not too loud so other people can hear him. But he makes sure to tiptoe his way there. And he basically tugs on another hero's leg, let's say Midnight. And, Midnight says, "Who is that?" And that's when she looks down. She says, "Ah! Ah! Ah!" As another pro hero, let's say Kamui Wood, says, "Midnight, what's going on?" As she says, "Ah! It looks like one of those monsters from those movies." As Izuku says, "Wait, I'm not a monster. Kamui Wood says, "Then what are you?" As Izuku says, "I don't know anymore. Last time I woke up, I looked normal. And now, I look like this." Having an upset tone in his voice. Another hero passes by, and it turns out to be Hawks. Hawks, sorry. Or is it Hawks? Let's say it's Hawks. No, Hawk. Yeah, Hawks. Yeah. As he says, question, why are you in the facility that had a kidnapped family in? As Izuku says, "That's what I'm trying to tell you. I'm one of the members of that family. They do, I don't know. I was asleep the entire time. I don't know how long it's been, and I want to go home." As the heroes say, "Wait, if you got out, and we're trying to break into here, do you know a way in that no one would suspect?" As Izuku says, "Maybe, but you won't like it." As they say, "We're prepared for anything." As All Might says, "Yes, we are." As Izuku cannot hold the excitement anymore and says, "You're the coolest in the universe." And yeah, as Alma says, what? As Izuku says, nothing, nothing, nothing. As Izuku shows them the way in, even mentioning the rotting corpses there. As everyone's shocked to see how many innocent people they have taken to do experiments on. As Izuku makes sure no one's there, as Izuku says, okay, all clear. As the heroes bust in, and Izuku walking up to his parents while saying, Mom, Dad, it's me. As they're trying to say something, but the glass is soundproof, so they cannot tell Izuku what's going on. Or how happy that they know that he's alive. As the heroes say, so this is the place. Sounds strange. As Midnight notices the two giant monsters, well, not monsters, but, well, the family, but to her they resemble the monsters from that movie that she's seen. And she says, ah! As Izuku says, oh, come on, don't be mean. As Midnight says, sorry, it's just, why do they look like the monsters from that movie I've seen? As Izuku says, monsters? In movies? As a huge group of drawings say, intruders must exterminate, pulling out a huge gun at the same time. As the heroes say, well then, let's get ready. As a huge fight breaks out, as Izuku and another hero, let's say Aizawa, was there, and say, well, Eraserhead says, kid, do you know the controls? As Izuku says, I don't know, I'm not the guy who made this. As he's just pressing random buttons. And one basically opens the door to his old tube. And he thinks, wait a minute, if that button's in the middle, then that must mean... As he presses the two buttons at the same time, the two tubes behind Inko and Hisashi, well, Izuku's old tube and opening Inko's and Hisashi's, as the, well, liquid falls out and Inko and Hisashi get a good look on each other when they get out. They realize what the scientists have done. But once they look over to Izuku to see that he's alive, they're just so happy. As Hisashi and Inko go in for a hug and say, Izuku, you're alive. As Hisashi says, you had a smart plan. Patting Izuku's head a bit, and Izuku says, what plan? As Hisashi says, wait, you don't have a plan? As Izuku says, no, I think I was asleep. As one of the heroes say, well, I guess he's like me, a heavy sleeper. As the fight is usually ended with a TV or an intercom that says, well, I did not expect a symbol of peace to interrupt my Nomu baking facility. As the Midoriya's family say, Nomu? As the heroes say, baking? As one of the scientists is right behind this masked man and says, the Nomu baking facility is where we make, well, Master's, well, pets or servants. So, we tried to make you three into Nomus, but that stupid brat decided to ruin it. Izuku hiding behind his parents' leg, as Hisashi says, "You won't get away with this." As, well, this masked man says, "I already did. Look at you now." As the scientists say, "Sir, now that I notice, I did." And then this masked man said, "I know you forgot to make them brain dead. Then I'll have to make you, I don't know. What's that word that begins with D and ends with D?" As the scientists say, "Sir, please, I can make more. I can make more." As this masked man says, "Now that we've been found out, I'm afraid I have to cut you loose." As the screen ends with a huge blast of red as if it's blood. As Izuku's basically hiding in fear. As the Midoriya family are just shocked. Anko holding her main arms in front of her mouth, trying to hold the vomit, because she just saw a man die, and it looked like from exploding of sorts. As All Might says, "All for one." As he's basically holding onto a droid's head, crushing it. As Izuku is just scared. As this fight's now over, they got the police there, and let's say the police are more respected because heroes don't exist. Well, they kind of do. We have policemen, army men, and firefighters. In fact, I think heroes do exist. Back to the story. And police and firemen and, let's say, lifeguards are more respected now. As the heroes try to see if there's a cure for the Midoriya family. As they're wrapped in towels since they're basically soaking wet. Izuku more dry. As the police report the rotting corpses in the back. As one of Izuku's friends, well, not Izuku's friends, but Katsuki says, well, forget that, sorry. I think I told you, so these are not scripted, so I might be lost or confused. As Izuku thinks to himself, are we gonna go back normal? As Inko just, I don't know how to put this, but she basically shields Izuku from the back to keep him warm. You know, it's basically like having someone tucked under your arm. It's basically like that. As Inko has realized that she has 4 arms, 2 on the chest, which is a bit weird. Sashi's having, 3 tails that end with blades, 2 on his shoulders and 1 at the back. As they're trying to get used to their new bodies, but they're trying to process how they ended up like this. As one of the scientists say, "You stupid heroes, once we break out, we'll make the biggest Nomu you ever seen. that you'll die from its sight. As the heroes say, oh, just shut up. They just shove him into the police car and just take him away. As All Might says, I'm sorry you have to see that, you... Well, I'm sorry you have to see that, Midoriya's. As Inko says, how did you find us? As All Might says, well, let me tell you a story. As we have a flashback to when the guy was driving away from the facility, and he says, now that I got this bag of yen, I'll be unstoppable. I'll make weapons upon weapons. As let's say he spots, I don't know, a bank that's not guarded, and he says to himself, maybe I can get some more. As this cloaked man pulls out a little gun and hides in his pocket. He goes into the bank, and the bank manager says, hello, what can I get? And then, well, it sounds like I'm saying, hello, what is your order? But like this, forget it. As the guy says, give me 10,000 yen. Or as the person says, someone call the heroes! As this four-armed man just fires the gun at her, killing her. As somebody already did call the heroes. Yeah, that was quick, I know. As the bank went into lockdown. Once the hero finally arrived, All Might, the four-armed man was starting to fight him. But having a punch to the head and a kick in the stomach, yeah, he's knocked out. As they took him to jail, and they brought him in for questioning. As someone finally breaks him, which is Nezu, that stare. I'm telling you, behind those eyes is a devil. Anyway, back to the story. As the guy basically explains, okay, I'll tell you. But if the boss catches hear of this, he'll kill me. As Nezu says, oh, just say it. There's no rush. Lying, of course, because this is a family he just took. Anyway, as the man basically explains how he just, kidnapped the family, just knocking them out with 4 good punches. Well, 1 good punch, actually, for each of his fists. As, basically gave them to the scientists, and the scientists promised him a lot of yen. So he just basically did the job and took it, the yen, and yeah, he was sent to a prison for life. As flashback ends, as All Might says, and that's how we found you. As Hisashi says, well, I want to thank you guys for helping us. Or for letting Izuku help you. Patting Izuku's head again. As Aizawa, or Eraserhead, comes with All Might, goes up to All Might and says, All Might, I found some of the files. They're quite disturbing. as he basically sees that, reads. He reads the files, and All Might says, "What the? Are they sick?" As Izuku says, "What do you mean sick? They look very healthy to me." As Inko and Hisashi say, "Izuku, sorry, it's okay." And Hisashi says, Izuku, he doesn't mean like sick as in very ill." Yeah. As All Might just shows the two parents the files, as they're in shock. Like, if Inko wasn't saved, she'd be a mindless killing machine creating multiple clones of herself but younger. And Hisashi would be an anti-killing machine, basically. If Inko wasn't saved, but then she got her memories back and tried to kill the villains, Hisashi would be the kill switch. And by kill switch, I mean actually killing Inko. But let's forget about that. They're saved now. Yay! As Inko just says, "You can take it. I don't want it." As Hisashi says, "Question, is there a hero that can breathe fire?" As All Might says, no, actually." As Hisashi says, "Well, is it okay, can I use my quirk? Or at least one of them now." As he basically breathes fire towards the files, burning them because he does not want to see them again. As Izuku is still traumatized at this, because after being kidnapped, being experimented on, seeing dozens of dead corpses, and seeing a guy blow up, and leaving huge clumps of blood everywhere, it's gonna make a kid scared throughout his entire life. And after a month of recovering, Inko and Hisashi have decided to go back to their home, or at least try to update it since they're basically taller than now. Like, Inko's as tall as 3 adult people, and Hisashi is the same height as 3.5 adult people. And Izuku's just the same size as a 4-year-old kid. Well, not a 4-year-old, a 7-year-old, yeah. It's a bit strange, I know. Anyway, as they're in the middle of updating their house, let's say Inko is basically wearing clothes that suit her now, because ever since she was in that test tube, she felt naked, which was uncomfortable. And updating their homes so they can fit in. Well, by fitting in, I mean like actually being able to fit in the house, since, as I explained, King and Queen Xenomorphs can get pretty big, taller than a normal person. At least Izuku can fit in. You know what I mean. Anyway, as they're done building their house, and Hisashi says, "I'm gonna get some new clothes," telling you I feel naked here. As Inko says, Don't worry, Han. As Izuku asks his mom, Mom, I have a question. As Inko says, yeah, Izuku? Do I look scary? As Inko says, what? No, you're my baby boy. Holding how should I put this? Just face nuzzling Izuku, yeah. And says, you're my baby boy. You're not scary at all. As Izuku starts to feel a lot better now, giving it a little smile. As a few minutes later, Hisashi comes back with clothes that actually fit them now. And, Inko still wears the same colors now. Pink top, I believe a blue skirt. As Hisashi, I would believe, would wear white and black. As if he's a part of, I don't know. Yeah, white top, black trousers. And Izuku, he'll practically wear any All Might merch or an orange top and yellow shorts. Yeah. Let's say Izuku goes to a private school now, since everyone would think he's weird now. So let's say Izuku's 14 now, and he's in his private school. Everyone's been calling him a weirdo because he looks just different. As the last day of this private school, the teacher says, now, I know you've been wanting to know what you'll do with your pathetic little lives. But the teacher said, why bother, though? As the teacher again says, we all know you want to go to the hero course. As everyone just cheers, also celebrating their quirks. I know this is kind of mirrored to the canon what if, but I'm just working what I got. As since Bakugo's not there, no one will give off a speech. Izuku is there. Just imagine a xenomorph wearing Izuku's school attire from when he was in middle school and just trying to cover his face where his eyes should be and writing in his notebook. As the teacher says, Izuku Midoriya, you want to go to UA? As everyone looks at Izuku, and they all burst out laughing, like the one person says, him, the villain with the banana head? As one of them says, yeah, the freakazoid alien from the planet Yikes. As one person in class says, can you stop? I'm getting a headache. As the temperature cools down in the classroom, Izuku starts shivering for some reason, looks behind him to see a boy with red and white hair with a scar on his eye where the red side should be. And this boy says, I'm new and my dad already wants me out of this school, so yeah. Don't give me a headache or I'll freeze you to death in here. As everyone says, okay, we'll stop. As Izuku just ducks his head into his shirt a bit. trying to warm up, basically. As this boy, one thinks and figures out that he's a victim of bullying in this school, and the teacher said, Todoroki, you're not allowed to use your quirks if it's necessary. Yeah. As school finishes, Izuku's notebook doesn't get burnt or thrown in a lake of sorts. But, he takes a shortcut home. And it leads under a bridge. Izuku bumps into someone, a teenager with blonde hair, with red eyes. And the teenager said, "Hey, what the hell?" And Izuku says, Sorry. As this blonde hair teenager slightly recognizes the voice and thinks, could it be? No, he was pronounced quirkless, right? As all of a sudden, a sludge villain pops out of the manhole and says, "Ugh, I'm gonna take my choice and go for the..." As he looks at Izuku and he says, "I'll choose you as a skin suit." As Izuku is just curled up into a ball as the sludge villain tries to force his way down his throat, but ends up burning himself because Izuku's, blood is quite literally made out of acid. And he says, "Ah!" The sludge villain says, "Ah! What the hell even are you? Forget it, I'm gonna go for the one with more firepower." As Izuku says, coughing up some sludge, as Izuku says, "No!" As he grabs the sludge villain by the leg and with some abnormal amounts of strength flips him over. As another voice pops out of the manhole and says, "Do not fear," as a figure with golden hair says, "For I am here." And as he sees the sludge villain on his back, slightly dazed, as he turns around to see a blonde-haired boy and says, "Did you do this?" As the blonde-haired boy shakes his head and says, "No, he did." And All Might says, "Ah, nice to meet you again." As Izuku says, "Nice to meet you again too, All Might. You can take this guy, right?" As All Might says, "You bet I can." As he basically punches the villain with so much gust of wind, he just turns into clops of sludge combined with concrete. And, let's say Izuku's now the same height as an adult man. As the blonde-haired boy says, "Wait, you two know each other?" As Izuku says, "Well, kinda. He's the one that rescued me when I was about 7. As Katsuki, I just messed it up and I said Katsuki. Let's say Katsuki says, "Wait a minute. I knew it." As Bakugo says, Deku? As Izuku says, Kachan, how did you know it was me? As Katsuki says, your voice, you idiot. As All Might just pushes the sludge villain into the bottles and say, now that I trapped the villain, what would it be for you, Midoriya? As Izuku says, can I have an autograph, please? As All Might signs his notebook. As Katsuki says, okay, I'll have one too. Pulling out another notebook, as Izuku says, Gachan, you have a notebook of yourself too. Sorry, that came out wrong. What I'm trying to say is Katsuki has a notebook as well, but it's for, well, learning stuff. Izuku's notebook is about heroes. As they both get autographs signed into their notebooks, Izuku excited as all hell. As Izuku says, bye, Kachan. As Katsuki says, bye, Deku. Going their separate ways. As Izuku gets into his house, which is now rebuilt and quite considerably bigger, as Izuku gets his shoes off, his red shoes, and by the way, Izuku digigrade, basically walking on his toes. So he's not in the position as a human, no. He's digigrade. As Izuku says, Mom, I'm home. As Inko says, Izuku, you just missed your father. As Izuku says, aw, I really want to tell him I met All Might. As Izuku says, oh, I also met Kachan again. We finally reunited. As Inko says, oh, that's good, Izuku. Yeah, this is where I have to leave it off. Sorry, guys. Getting tired. Make sure to like and subscribe if you want more. Hit the bell notification to be notified for more videos. Goodbye.